Hi, my name's Kevin Hicks. Welcome to my YouTube channel, The History Squad. Now, today's video is actually in response to a question from one of my Patreon members about how was ransom and plunder shared in an English medieval army. So, you know, how was all this plunder shared in the Middle Ages? And even interestingly, how did they hold on to it? Because it wasn't always that easy. So let's have a look. So, ransom and plunder. Plunder, straightforward. You rob the house, you steal the goods. That's your plunder. It could be a bed, it could be a fur coat, it could be a tablecloth, it could be a bag of gold, right? Now that's got to be anted up, but I'll talk about that in a minute. But what I want to talk about is ransom. So there you are in the heat of the battle, and in front of you and your little gang of bowmen is a French knight. You've got him surrounded. He sees he can't move. He opens his visor. You're about to stab him, and he shouts out, "Gémeron! Gémeron!" Apparently that's French chivalric talk for "I surrender." He then takes off his right gauntlet, hands it to you, and says these lovely words, "Parole." So there you go. That's his word of honor. He's not going to run away. But you've now got to hold on to that prisoner. So you and your band of merry little men bind his wrists maybe, but guard him. Because if you don't, somebody might slit your throat for a prisoner that is basically worth his weight in gold to you. It's like, for a bowman in modern terms, winning the lottery. So, when it comes to ransoms and plunder for that matter, there are rules and regulations. If you, for instance, capture the enemy king, or his son, the prince, or a captain of the royal blood, or one of their lieutenants or constables of high rank, you're not allowed to keep him. You've got to hand him over to the king or one of the king's representatives immediately. But that doesn't mean you're just giving him away. You will get a reward. Right? Now, anybody below that, now is your chance, because you can make money out of this. You can sell him and make a profit, and his belongings. If he's got a great big horse, you're not going to give it away, are you? You're going to sell it. So, ransom and plunder. Whether you've ransomed a prisoner or whether you've got a wagon full of plunder, there are rules how it is divided. I call it the rule of thirds. You, as your common bowman, lucky beggar, you have just won the lottery, because you get to keep 2/3 of the proceeds. You must hand over 1/3 to your captain, and from his third he pays 1/3 to his captain, who then in turn from his third pays 1/3 to the king. And this is kind of how it works. I've got this 1443, 1444 from the clerk to the garrison of Tomberlane. From the sale of a prisoner, his horse and his sword, I love this, there was a total of £28, 17 and sixpence. That's old money. I know all about old money. £9, 12 and 6 was to his captain. But from his £9, 12 shillings and sixpence, he paid £3, 4 shilling and twopence to the garrison commander, who from his £3, 4 shillings and twopence paid £1, 1 shilling and 5 pence to the king. You still walk away with your 2/3. That is fantastic. But all you've got to do now is you've got to hold on to it. And it's interesting, isn't it? If you're just a man-at-arms or a bowman and you've made this money, that's great. Your prisoner's gone. You've got your bag of gold. Great. But the king or your boss or your boss's boss is stuck with the prisoner. Now, if you can be quick about it, you can get his ransom paid, if it's reasonable, pretty quick. But the guy who's got him further down the line, he's got to squeeze that ransom out of that French nobleman or knight. Now, if he's a lesser knight, it could be a quick thing. Yeah, it's a low ransom, get it paid. But if he's very, very wealthy, then you've got problems, because that knight could be stuck in your castle back in England for quite a while. Some of the most famous ransoms from the medieval time, one of them was King David captured, the Scottish king, King David, who was captured at Neville Cross, together with the 3 arrows that were stuck in him. His ransom was set at 100,000 merk, which is, it's an almost forgotten Scottish silver coin. But you have John the Good, King John, captured, the French king captured at the Battle of Poitiers there. 3 million gold crowns was his ransom. This is literally a king's ransom, isn't it? But we've got a record here of a bowman, an ordinary bowman at Agincourt. He, together with a couple of buddies, I believe they were men-at-arms, he was an archer, they captured what is described as Le Sire de Corps. It's a French nobleman. He handed him over and his reward was £99. That's what he walked away with. That's 44 times his wages for the campaign. That's, wow, he's won the lottery. The trick is, though, he's got to hold on to it, because when the Agincourt army arrived at Calais, disease, fear of disease, but I've also read that they were frightened they were going to run out of food. They wouldn't let a lot of the lesser soldiers and their prisoners in. So they had to sell up some of their wares and sacrifice some of their ransom. So you've got to be very canny in holding on to your ransom, to your plunder, to your profit. An interesting angle that I've been reading about is why men served and fought in the king's armies in the medieval times from England and Wales. Well, for the nobleman, the knight, it was described as his raison d'être, his reason to live. He was born to serve, to fight, and profit was secondary. But when you come down to the basic bowman, Kev the bowman, he wants adventure. He doesn't want to live his entire life in the same old village with the same old people. He's a skilled bowman. He has a little bit of prestige, so he can elevate himself, become a member of a liveried household, where he's got the divided colours of his master. He earns a good wage, but also when he goes abroad to fight, there is that extra incentive, ransom and plunder. Now, one of the tricks is to get your ransom money, your plunder, back home. We don't quite know how they did it, but we do know they did it, because one of Froissart's chronicles, first of all, he mentions how these common bowmen are diddling their captains out of a bit of silver, and this is what he says. The men on campaign, they told about the corn that they took, the houses that they ransacked, the horses, cattle and all the other things, but they never mentioned the silver or gold. They kept it to themselves. Do you blame them? But then he wrote in 1348, in England, so we're home now, few women that didn't possess something from Caen and other places the army had been, tablecloths, linen, clothes, jewellery, furs. It would appear that the bowmen particularly got plenty of things home to adorn their tables and their wives. Well, I hope you enjoyed our little video there, full of bits of information. If you did, like, share and subscribe. You know the drill, but don't forget to turn on your all notification button so you know what's coming down the line next. But before I go, a quick shout out to some of my Patreon members. Without my Patreon members, I wouldn't be able to do these models. That's for sure. Christopher Varner, Bishop Odo's nephew, I like that, and Trish McFerrin. Hey guys, thank you very much indeed. Bye for now.